Hey, Scott, how are we doing today? Man, it's
I'm
been a
doing.
while. I know it's been 2 weeks. We didn't get one in last week, but I'm glad to see your beautiful face. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be back as well. It's another week, another chance for a W. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Yeah, we are over this last week of football. Last night's football game was absolutely excruciating to watch on you know for multiple different reasons. But
Another Broncos primetime game. Just
Yeah, we're done with that until November, so we don't have to watch. I said in our group text that the Broncos need to be relegated from primetime games for 3 years. I stand by that. It's just disgusting to watch. I think that's mostly their coach that's doing that. Also, Russell Wilson's apparently injured. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get into anything football related, let's talk about what you're watching right now. Okay. The Lord of the Rings finale was this week. It, is there anything else you've been watching that is notable?
I will say I am watching Lord of the Rings and House of the Dragon, but I am a little behind on those because I took a trip this weekend to New Orleans.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'm really watching that I'm up to date on is She-Hulk, and I've been really enjoying it. I've been really enjoying it every episode up until the last episode, and they just screwed the pooch on that one. That was a
Really?
terrible, terrible, terrible fucking ending. I really like they. I figured the episodes before, like they got you engaged. They were triggering. They were very good like a material in the way they shot them. And then in the last episode, they were just kind of fuck it, how you want to end it? I don't know. Let's just do this. There you want to do that? No, I don't want to do it. Let's change it up last second again. Let's do this. And you're just kind of like, and then it just kind of ended. And
It's
you're like,
very,
really?
what you're describing there is very much the point. I mean, they got into a writer's room and wrote about being in a writer's room. I know that's
But okay, she was
confusing.
breaking the fourth. She was breaking the fourth wall throughout the thing. Sure, sure, she's breaking fourth wall. But
Yeah.
then to sit there and climb out of the menu screen, and then to go down and talk to the writers, literally got nothing done, and then to show a fucking AI robot writing the whole thing, and she has like a stupid argument with him, and then she just shows back up, and they're all just getting like quietly arrested, like fucking Hulk smash, fucking smash shit, like what the fuck was that? It built all this stuff up, and then she was like, "I'm gonna handle it responsibly." And it's like, is that the fucking show we're watching? What the hell is this?
I think that is the show you're watching, though. I mean, that's kind of what it's been the whole
Yeah,
season
but
is.
she is she gonna have like she gonna show up to fight a villain, and be like, "Oh, now we're gonna talk about this responsibly." Daredevil doesn't do it. Daredevil shows up and kicks his ass. If
Yeah.
you want to be She-Hulk in the court, you're She-Hulk in the court. But if you're She-Hulk at going to catch your villain, kick his ass, kick his ass. Don't call the cops like a fucking nosy neighbor. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really weak.
And it's very much what do you think of Hulk's nephew? It's like, what's that? Or no, his son.
It's his son.
It's his
His
son.
son. It's to appease the Gen Z people generation. It was really quite pathetic. I'm guessing because it's going to be because he didn't talk, so they haven't chosen an actor for it. So it's a cheaper version. And then Mark Ruffalo probably doesn't want to do this crap anymore. So like, oh look, we have a new guy Hulk, and
Well,
it's going to be some stupid Gen Z kid. It'll be like. I don't know. It'll be what was that skinny kid from Dune? It'll probably be that fucking kid. Yeah,
yeah, he's in pretty much everything nowadays. But
yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. It's something I can watch with Kennedy, my daughter, and it's something that we get into as a family on Thursdays, and it appeals to that kind of it's kind of a child show in certain senses. Now there is a lot of sex and violence and whatever mixed in, but it appeals to, I mean, she looks at the camera, she addresses the audience. It's a totally different kind of Marvel universe production. The AI thing at the end, and again, I don't want to spoil this for anybody who hasn't watched it, but we are 5 days, 6 days out from it, so I feel like it's okay to generally talk about it. But yeah, I mean, it's something different. I personally liked it. I'm excited for season two. I like the incorporation of Daredevil. the incorporation of the Abomination, and they just kind of bring in things from outside into She-Hulk. So I thought it was interesting. I'm watching. I started something last night. It is spooky season. It is October, so there's a Netflix show called Season or The Sinner. It's in season 4. It's a great show. Bill Pullman, if you don't know who that is, Independence Day president, and he's done
Mm-hmm.
so many other things besides that. I think that's just what, if you were describing him to somebody, that would be the role that they would know. But yeah, season 4, the first 3 seasons are amazing. It's a show about a retired detective investigating murders, and he just so happens to always go town to town, not looking for them, just kind of stumbles upon these missing people or murders or whatever. It's a great show, wonderful show, and I've only seen 1 episode, but it started out great. With that and Dahmer and all that sort of stuff. I mean, for the next 2 weeks, that's how I'm going to fill my time when I'm not watching any sports, baseball, football, basketball, hockey. We do get that tonight. I know this is not your cup of tea, but you got hockey, you got basketball on the first night, playoff baseball's going on, football on Thursday. This is sports utopia, my friend. Sports utopia is going on. But we're here to talk about football. Okay. Let's go around the gridiron. Okay. We'll talk about the gridiron. I know this is, you know, we're not going to get into your record right now, which may not be where you want it to be this part of the season. But we've kind of had a down year statistically. Okay. In the gridiron. One stat stood out to me that was posted earlier today by Adam Schefter. Rodgers, Brady, Stafford, Wilson have won 20-plus point game under their belt this year between the 4 of them. Why do you think this is? That is sad, right?
Yeah, that's pretty sad. They all have their own reasons. Wilson, still a new team, new offense, plus injuries, and a lot of prime time. Which honestly, like until you're been with your team for a little bit, having multiple primetime games like that messes up your rhythm because having a game at noon every week, you can do your full week of practice, full week of preparation, and get ready for the game at the same time. They've had Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night. They've had every primetime game of it under the sun for literally no reason at all.
Yep.
So I'll give him that. Stafford, first time he's ever really been in a long postseason, let alone a Super Bowl. He threw in tons of extra hours practicing with Cup. His elbow's shot. It's just not looking good. Plus, they sold out for the Super Bowl last year, and they've lost some of the pieces since then. So it's not really the same team. Brady's got other shit going on right now. I mean, Brady. I'll get more into Brady when we talk about the Steelers this weekend, but it's not a priority for him. It's really not. If you look at it, his actions speak a lot louder than his words, and mainly because I don't fucking listen to him. But his actions say that he's got other things that are more important to him going on, and it shows in his play. And Rodgers, Rodgers, he just takes zero accountability, and it makes for a great leader. That was a joke because it's kind of fucking terrible. He's just everything for him is like everybody else's fault. Like no matter what happens, and they started off a little slow, and then they started getting back into the run game, and going off the play action, things like that. But then they found out that their offensive line isn't necessarily the best, so that you are going to get stuck there sometimes. And he's like, "Oh well, maybe we should dumb down the playbook because these receivers can't get it or whatever these things." But it's like same time, maybe you need to put in a little extra time with these wide receivers. Maybe you need to actually go figure out, 4 different route combinations on every single play, things like that with these wide receivers. So you're not just pointing fingers and going, well, I've been MVP before, so it's obviously not me. Like, it's just the kind of attitude I get out of him all the time. I'm like, if he was like that, I'd be like, wow, this guy's a fucking dickhead, huh? But, that's why I don't play for the Packers. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. They're all on the wrong side of 35 too.
Yeah.
Takes a toll.
I think Stafford is 34. He might be 35 right there. But yeah, the rest of them are older than that. Listen, we go through this every couple of years. Your heroes at quarterback, the people that we draft high in fantasy, we're a two quarterback super flex league. The you know these people fade out and become old and stop to produce. We've seen it Peyton Manning and Brett Favre and Drew Brees and these people, they start to fade and they're not those top five guys every single year like we've seen them in the past. The only thing about that is they do that spaced out. So you see Peyton Manning fall off, you've seen Drew Brees fall off years apart. Is it possible, do you think, that all these quarterbacks that we've held on such a high pedestal for so long are all coinciding with each other and fading at the same time? I mean, because in my mind, I think that's part of what's going on here is that Aaron Rodgers ain't what he used to be. Tom Brady definitely ain't what he used to be. I mean, should he have come back this year? Who knows? I guess time will tell a bit by the end of the year. So far, it looks like no, he made a bad decision. Russell Wilson last year, I mean, people keep saying like, oh my God, the Broncos are supposed to be so good. Like we thought that Russell Wilson coming out of Seattle to this situation where we've talked about where if any good quarterback came in the situation where it was Rodgers or Russell Wilson or whoever, somebody was going to be really successful in Denver. Russell Wilson looked like shit last year in Seattle, and everybody said it's Seattle, and whatever. He had DK Metcalf and Lockett
I
and
like
all
it.
these weapons, and Geno is like thriving. Geno's a top 10 fantasy quarterback right now, believe it or not, through 6 weeks.
Bleh.
I know. Yeah, I know. But he is. He's a top 10 fantasy quarterback with all those weapons that people said that, you know, Wilson just needs to get out of there. Russell needs to get out of there. Maybe it's Russell Wilson. Seattle's bad, or Seattle's bad last year. Denver's bad this year. They're not moving the ball. You see him dancing around the pocket, making terrible decisions. I think that's the big thing is when you watch these Denver games, he's making just terrible decisions. He's not finding the open receiver. And when he does find the open receiver, it looks great. You saw that in the first touchdown last night with Greg Dulcich. Other than that, it was just, I mean, it was straight garbage. But yeah, you saw Brady struggle to move against the Steelers defense this last week. You see, Stafford is playing injured to a certain extent with his elbow, but he's struggling to move the ball unless it's to Cooper Kupp. Maybe these guys are just they're fading all at the same time, and we're going to see, kind of a new generation of quarterback phase in while some of these other older guys are phased out. Um, but it's making for bad football right now. Which kind of brings me to my next point is it's a down year. I know you've seen the stats. Uh, Total points is down 20+% from last year. It's the lowest point uh, statistical fantasy year in 13 years, which is absolutely maddening. Um, this is kind of what we saw in 2018, which was 4 years ago, but not to this point. Again, it's only 6 weeks. But do you have some kind of formula of why this is going on? Is there some kind of single thing we can point to, or is it just an anomaly that we just need to accept?
It's just kind of an anomaly. I think what we've seen over the past 20 years, even, has been such a move towards football being an extremely offensive game, which to me, I mean, as a Steelers fan, you grow up watching defense. You grow up, watching a 9-6 win, and you're like, yeah, like that's a good game. And so
Right.
it's. I think it's just the defense is finally catching up because for the last 13 years, last 20 years, every year it's 3 or 4 new rules on somehow, you can't touch the wide receiver, you're not allowed to breathe on the quarterback, and you just allow them to get a touchdown. If it's overtime, start them on the 20 or whatever, all sorts of shit like that. It's always for the offense. So I think it's just finally the defense is finally catching up because every year it's like, oh, I'm not allowed to what? Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't what? I've been doing that for my entire football career. What? Okay.
Yeah.
So they kind of have to, like, every year they got to readjust and be like, wait, I can't hit low. I can't hit high. I can't hit on the side on the left or on the right. So I can hit like right here. So it's like they're finally catching on. I think that's what we're seeing. And the offenses will catch on in this season too. It's just taking a little bit.
I mean, honestly, I think that what we talked about before has something to do with it a little bit, is that these really good quarterbacks, whether it be Rodgers or Stafford or Brady or Wilson, used to make big plays and used to have really high point totals that you depend on. Now, 1/8 of the league is not representative of everybody, but these quarterbacks that we are used to throwing up 3 or 4 touchdowns a game aren't really doing that to a certain extent. The big matchup that we had of last week was the Bills and the Chiefs, right? At that 3 o'clock window. And, you know, right when the game started, Tony Romo said, this is going to be a 24-20 game. Now, we'll ignore the fact that it was 24-20 and Tony Romo is, can see the future. But these teams are saying, we're not going to let you beat us with the big plays, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
give you stuff underneath. And Josh Allen, especially Patrick Mahomes, are built, or they have been built on this base that they're going to have big plays. The Mahomes to Tyreek was epic, and that's how Mahomes has built this idea is that he's the best quarterback in a generation. Is because he can dance around in the pocket, extend it, and make these big plays with receivers like that. That's not happening this year. That's not happening with anybody. It's not happening with Kyler Murray. It's not happening with Mahomes. It's not happening where people are breaking these huge plays. That's because I feel like teams are saying, we're gonna let you kind of trickle down the field, and if you're patient enough to do that, to beat us on drive after drive after drive with these short intermediate plays, then you can win. But we're not going to let you beat us up over the top time and time again.
You
Also,
also have to realize.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say part of that with not letting them play over the top of them. Their safety's playing deep, and they can both play deep because nobody's running the ball this year. That's the other thing is
Yeah,
a lot of these quarterbacks live off of the play action pass. Aaron Rodgers, Stafford, even Brady, they live off of that play action pass. And since it's not effective because no one's really rushing the ball this year, safety's sitting deep, like you said, nothing over the top, and everything is you're really gonna have to work for it, basically.
right. Yeah, and I think that's a smart play. It's a smart play, but it doesn't make for good football. We want the big plays. We want the
You,
breakouts. We want the
you can
high
be like
scoring.
the NBA. No zone defense anymore, and no two high safeties anymore. That's it. Only one high safety allowed.
Yes, you can only play no more than 10 yards off a receiver.
Yeah,
Um, but
receivers get a running start like in arena football.
right, right. So and so that's kind of what we've been seeing, is that these teams are not giving up on that big play. They don't want to give up on that big play. And so they choose not to run the ball, and it's like, you can't just sit back in the pocket and say, I want to go deep, I want to go deep. Okay, I'm going to dump it off because it's not there because he's double covered, down the field. It's just it's not good football thus far. Do I see things changing as time goes on? Yeah, I think as people get worn down in the season, you'll see a lot more separation for receivers. You'll see more open gaps for running backs, and you'll see teams kind of catch fire on offense more than they have thus far. And so I think the numbers will go up as far as fantasy points and score projections. Uh, but right now, watching the NFL and what I talked about last night as far as Thursday night bets, It's an under. Just smash the under in every game. Smash the under in every single game. If you think there's a bad defense or an underachieving defense, still smash the under.
And
Take,
those games against the Ravens are kind of over, just because that Ravens defense is god awful.
but they went under. They went under against the
Still,
Giants. Yes, they went under. Is it?
24-20. Oh, because it was 44, it was 45, huh?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's just I
Yeah.
just one of these things. The thing that really made me like see this was Cardinals Seahawks last week. Seahawks were in like a
Yeah.
bottom five metric in almost everything that you could think of against the tight end, against the running back, against, O line or I'm sorry, D line, like all this sort of stuff. And
Mhm.
Kyler Murray, who you think like, okay, open up the offense. Let's, get those intermediate passes going. Let's get Kyler running around the field. Like couldn't make anything happen. Nothing worked. And so, an offense that you think would be kind of high powered, maybe not this year as much as other years, was just stifled against a Seattle defense, which is totally underwhelming. Um, so, it's just not happening for any team in the NFL right now, and it's it's alarming. But I think it'll get better. I really do. Um, okay, so there's one thing that I like to talk about or I like to do, it's a little practice I like to do to kind of level out the field regardless of position. And sometimes I do this and it's fun to look at, but it's also informative. In We take positional players, especially the people who are at top of their position, and we rank them among other positions. Okay. And I think what this does is really makes you grasp how valuable certain positions are comparatively to the whole field of fantasy players, and also lets you see in fantasy which position is doing really well and which positions are kind of struggling. I mean, we kind of already know generally, but this maybe puts in a different perspective. So let's first start out with Stephon Diggs. Okay, number one receiver, obviously. He would be quarterback 8. Okay. Let's look at some of the uh, quarterbacks that he would beat. Okay, right now that he would be beating. He would be beating Brady, Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers. And when I say would be, it's not would be. He is
Beating them right now.
beating them right now. I mean, all three of those guys. So Carr, Rodgers, Brady,
Kyler
Cousins.
Murray.
He is
He's
just
beating Kyler Murray.
behind Kyler Murray. So just behind Kyler Murray. But I'm just naming these.
I have him at 126 and Kyler Murray at 123.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's right. Okay, so 8.
Yep.
So yeah, Kyler Murray would be 9.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean Russell Wilson, obviously, but I mean these are big names. Stephon Diggs having that kind of season. Okay, that's not surprising. He would be running back 1. Okay, so he's better than any other running back. This is not surprising with the year that we're having. That's not shocking, right? Eckler. Eckler would be QB 10. Okay, so he would be beating everybody on that we just named except for Kyler Murray. Okay. At wide receiver, he would be wide receiver 3. Would be the only receivers he wouldn't be beating would be Cup and Diggs. Okay. Um, so Hill, Jefferson, Chase, Eckler is better than them at those positions. Again, not too shocking, but in a 2 QB league and where we ranked Eckler, um, really exceeding that price, right? I don't like to go back to the draft. I don't like to say what, coulda, woulda, shoulda. We're in week 6. That's not something you should do. However, you really need to level this out and say, okay, is this where he is going forward? or is this something where he's overachieving? Let's talk about a bad quarterback. Okay, somebody who we thought may have been good, but somebody who's really underachieving this year. Let's talk about Justin Fields. Okay, Justin Fields would be wide receiver 26, which is bad. Okay.
Droppable.
I mean, in two QB leagues, we're rostering Josh, or not Josh
Yeah.
Rosen. we're
Just
rostering Brett Rippon, and
yeah.
we're getting excited
And
about
Mitchell
Panthers.
Trubisky and stuff.
Mitchell
Yeah.
Trubisky, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe,
But as far as how Fields is doing right now, I like if you were had like your wide receiver 26, you'd be like, oh, this is that great.
yeah. Brandon Ayuk,
Um,
he is behind Brandon Ayuk.
I mean, Brandon Ayuk's had like one good game. I think this past week was like his first good game.
Yeah, but I mean, he is right there around T. Higgins. He's behind Lazard.
Yeah,
Um,
he's those hit or miss wide receivers. You might get a goose egg, you might get a touchdown.
right. And then we're talking about a QB2, or was drafted as a QB2 in most Superflex
Yeah,
and two quarterback leagues. As a tight end who's been abysmal, an abysmal position, tight end, he'd be tight end 4. So yeah, I mean that's not too crazy because
I mean, his tight ends
Kelsey
have been pretty bad this year.
tight end has been bad, but Kelsey and Andrews have been very
Yeah,
consistent and really good. So um, yeah, okay, but this is really where it gets interesting, and this is where I preach all throughout the year, and I'm crazy about these statistics because I think that people in leagues that have kickers and have IDP severely undervalued, especially in our league. Yeah, I think it's severely undervalued kickers and defense. People don't take it seriously at all. Suck up. Kicker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. #1 kicker so far this year, 70 points. He would be running back 17 if he was a running back. Comparatively, running back 17, let's see, Dameon Pierce, Aaron Jones-ish, Khalil Herbert, James Robinson, Kareem Hunt, Cordell Patterson,
they're all like 100% rostered.
right around that range. Okay, just short of Aaron Jones. That's alarming. Okay, if you're an Aaron Jones owner, he would be the second best defender IDP in the league. He would be QB 24, fitting as a QB2 if you started Suck Up every single week. He would be better than any Carolina quarterback, better than the collective work of Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks, better than the collective work of Steelers quarterbacks, better than the collective work of, let's see, that might be just about it. I mean, better than Stafford right now.
Yeah,
Disgusting. Better than Stafford, better than Fields, better than Mills. Um, Kicker's important, man. It's important to have somebody that's reliable in that position and can put up points every week. He would be wide receiver 15. Right there outside of wide receiver 1 would be the best kicker in the league. So when somebody says don't spend draft picks, don't trade for a kicker, don't worry about them on the fantasy wire or the, whatever, just march somebody out there. No, you need somebody reliable. You need somebody every week. I'm going to get your thoughts on this right after this, but for now, let me just do defense real quick. Tariq Woolen. Okay, we're not in the days where Josh Wilson, Rondé Barber, stuff like that, where they're going to be first page overall and they're going to just blow people's minds. people don't kick return. Defense is worked differently on the field, so they don't get nearly as many points. But Tariq Woolen, who is right now the best defender in the league, would be running back 13. Okay, our running back 1. Wide receiver 12. A wide receiver 1. Tight end 3. And QB 23. Defense matters, man. Kicker and defense matters. These guys, if you can collectively get people who can consistently put up points every week, can really make a difference in your team. Can really make a difference. I know I've talked a lot. Is there anything that stands out during everything I've just said?
Yeah, I mean, I love the position comparison because I mean every league is set up a little bit differently, but especially for our league with the super flex 2 QBs, we've always been so focused on pretty much you draft QB, running back, or wide receiver or something. But with how things are going, you're looking at these position battles, and to me, not only have we been talking about how much running backs have dropped off, but wide receivers have been killing it this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think you need to at least at some point adjust your strategy. Whether, I mean, obviously we're in week 6, we're in the middle of the season, so you can't do that for the draft right now. But like you were saying, be trading for a good defense, be trading for replace your bad, useless kicker that just gets 3 extra points a game or something, and look at the fact that somebody like Eckler, personally, back in the day, I would have been like, oh, well, Eckler's not really a big enough back to get those goal line carries, so he's probably not always going to get that many touchdowns, blah, blah. But he's a 3-down back. He's on the field all the time, and Justin Herbert uses him. He dumps the ball off him. They run it with him. And he's wiry,
Right.
he's slippery. He tends to hide behind his big old line and then just pop out of somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Fields, I honestly feel bad for the guy. Like I think like he could be a good quarterback, but he's just stuck in Chicago. And have you ever known Chicago to have a good offense?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I'm starting to think it's like the ownership, like they're just so like their head is so far in the dirt that they're just like, did someone say they could promise us a good offense? What'd they say? I don't know. We'll hire them, and that's it. That's like the whole process.
Right.
It's got to be as bad as it could possibly be because every year it's just a crap product. You just hope they play good defense, basically. But so I feel bad for Fields. Suck up kicker number 1 for sure this year. Brady's sucking it. He's still Brady, so he's good enough to get you to their side of the field, but he's got too many things going on, and he's not good enough to get you in the end zone. So suck up all day. Woolen and the Seahawks defense in general they've let up some points in games, but they've also had some really good games. And no matter what, they don't allow the big play. So like Woolen's getting at least a tackle or 2 as they're working their way down the field. So like they're making you earn it, and on that way, Woolen's getting like every other tackle basically. It's been crazy.
Right. And I mean, like we've said in the past, teams that, are really bad on defense or give a lot of separation on defense and let up a lot of yards, those are the IDP stars. They are. And so Tariq Woolen, I think, has been a part of that and has been a big beneficiary. But yeah, he's having an absolutely wonderful year. I think he has 4 picks and touchdown, just doing awesome. All right, let's do our overreaction Tuesday, like we always do. I'm going to give you contenders versus pretenders. I'm going to give you a team. You tell me whether they are a contender or a pretender. Ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Start with the New York Giants. What do you think, contender or pretender?
I think that they're a regular season contender. I think they're going to do really, really well in the regular season. If they make it to the postseason, I don't think they'll do that great, just because they haven't been there in a long time. The level of the pressure, of the game will get to them if they get there. But they're killing it right now. With
Yeah,
strong run game and good defense, that's hard to beat.
true. Um,
What do you think?
I think listen, I think the Packers game this last, or not the Packers game, this Ravens game this last week, really cemented it for me that they are a contender. I thought they were pretending earlier, but listen, the difference that I've seen from the Giants teams of the past is that this team is not standing on the shoulders of Daniel Jones. This team is running the ball. They're getting the ball to receivers in open space. They're playing the field position game very, very well, whether it be special teams and defense. And I think that is key. Do I think that they can beat some of the other teams in the NFC, whether it be the Eagles or the Cowboys going forward? I don't believe that. I don't think that they are that kind of
Now
talent.
that was two teams in their own division. You're saying they can't beat.
Well, yes, I I will talk about that soon. But because I think this is a contender for one of the best divisions in the NFL. Um, but I think they're a contender. The only thing that we really haven't seen, um, and again against the Packers, they came from behind to a certain extent. But I'd like to see this team come from behind in the fourth quarter at the last second. I think the game against the Packers was a gradual come from behind win where they came from behind and scored and scored and scored and then held the Packers. There was no game-winning drive. Put the ball in Daniel Jones' hands. Let him try to win with a 2-minute drill. I'd like to see that. And then they are like a playoff contender, somebody that you don't want to see when it comes down to it. Right now, I think they are a team that can make the playoffs, but not go very far. Yeah, I think they're a contender. How about Jets? Contender, pretender?
I'm going to go with pretender right now. I don't quite believe them yet. They are playing good defense. They are running the ball well. I just think that a winning streak and the pressure is going to get to them here pretty soon. Just because the Jets have never really been in this situation before, and you got to kind of know how to handle the spotlight, I guess, and know how to handle going into a game being the favorite, and talking to the press and still complimenting your opponents, not saying things like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. I went to a wedding on Friday, whatever, kind of thing." You got to you got to actually kind of stick with it. So I'm not quite a believer of them. I know they've been playing really well. I know they just they beat the Steelers the other week, and they beat who they played. They beat someone pretty decent this weekend.
This last
The
week they beat the Packers.
oh yeah, they beat the Packers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good game. I honestly don't think the Packers are as good as people think they are. I think they've actually kind of missed on multiple draft picks over the past few years, and it's starting to show. But okay, I don't see them being a contender yet. What about you?
I don't see him being a contender. I think they're a pretender, but I will give them a compliment. Their D line is playing out of control. Their defense is playing
Yeah.
really, really well, and I think that has a lot to do with the head coach. They're very similar to the Giants. They're very similar to the Giants in the way they've won games, not blowing people away, but really getting the ball, to their running backs, whether it be Breece Hall and on the other side, like Saquon, using him like Saquon, getting him in open space and really making plays and not fucking up. They're not fucking up a lot. And they're playing really good special teams and really good defense and causing teams to go 3 and out because that D line puts a lot of pressure on people. So yeah, no, I like the Jets. I don't think they have enough offensive firepower to compete in this division. And I think that you've got games against the Bills coming up. You've still got some Dolphins to take care of. And so I think their schedule going forward is going to force them to not be a contender, to be a pretender.
Mhm.
But I think they've got a foundation to do well going forward.
Mhm.
Last one, Vikings, 5-1 Vikings. Do you think they're a contender or pretender?
I think they're a pretender. Just because the games I've seen where the defenses pay attention to Justin Jefferson, all of a sudden their like whole playbook is just like completely fucked. And it's like you have to expect for a defense to double Justin Jefferson. If they don't double Justin Jefferson, then they should just pack up their bags and go home. They shouldn't even fucking show up if their game
Yeah.
plan was to not double Justin Jefferson. So every once in a while, they like it's like every other game basically. Their team's just like, oh, he's just a normal guy. Just put a random quarter on him. They done, man. And Kirk Cousins goes crazy, and they do really well. But I just feel like anytime they play any defense that's worth its shit, like they're just going to be dumbfounded and be like, "What do we do now?" And, like I've watched Kirk Cousins, and it's just painful because it's like they get 1/4 of it, 2/4 of it. They go to halftime. They don't change anything. Come back, do the same thing. No fourth quarter. No, they can keep doing the same thing. Okay. So yeah, I mean
Uh,
Dalvin Cook's good, but yeah.
is really hard. This is the hardest contender pretender that we can do because they're 5-1 and the only team they've lost to is 6-0 is the Eagles. But their schedule played out like this. So they beat the Packers week 1, 23-7. Then they squeaked out one against Detroit, who was really an underwhelming team. Squeaked out one against New Orleans on the road. Beat Chicago by a touchdown and beat a
That's not bad.
struggling Miami team that started Skylar Thompson by a touchdown.
I one touch. So they're squeaking by these games.
Yes. And
Oh
I mean they're not like they're not covering. They're not covering, but they're
no.
winning games. So it's like, is this team good? I think time will tell. I'm gonna say that they're pretenders. They have a bye week this week, and then they come back with a really soft schedule with Arizona and Washington. That's really where we're going to see whether they're a contender or pretender. But I think right now they are pretenders. They're not a 5-1 team. They've got a 5-1 record. Hard to say, but they are pretenders to me.
They're like the definition of better lucky than good.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about our teams, and we'll do the Steelers temperature check first. Okay. They just beat Brady and the Bucks, which nobody saw coming. I know no matter what you say, you didn't see coming this
No, of
last
course
week.
not.
You know, and they were extreme underdogs. Where do the Steelers go from here? Are they? I mean, I know you're pleased with a win anytime you can get one. Is this going to be a thing going forward? Are the Steelers good? Question mark.
I wouldn't say good. Anytime you can get a win over Brady, that's never take that for granted because he's such a little cheating cunt that you got to take every chance you can get with him. Um, I mean that with full offense, but
Yeah.
you're not always going to have that. The fact that I mean, the Steelers won, but it was kind of the fact that okay, did Brady prepare for the game? No. Did Brady have more important things to do? Yeah, he went to Robert Kraft's wedding on Friday night. Was Brady at a wedding for the first time being single in about 20 years? Yeah, he was. So Brady had fun. Brady had fun. Brady skipped the walkthrough on Saturday that they scheduled later in the afternoon specifically for him to make it. Yeah, he did because he probably had a lot of fun at Robert Kraft's wedding. So you're not always going to have that situation. Usually, quarterbacks in the NFL, they're getting paid millions of dollars, are going to take their job kind of seriously and not think that they're above everybody else and be a complete dickhead about everything. Usually, they're going to come in and have gone through the game plan and just destroy the defense like they have been for the past 5 weeks. So, while yes, it is great to get a win against Brady, he obviously was not all there. But they didn't do anything like crazy. They basically like compared to the last games, the defensive backs get people in front of them.
Yeah.
If they thought the guy was a little faster than him, he took a couple steps back before the play started. It was like it was elementary shit. Because the other times it was just like you just see the DB just running after the wide receiver, like, oh my god, I'm never gonna get to him. And you're just like, well, just back up, and keep it in front of you. That's all you got to do. And they rushed Brady. They got to Brady, which was big, by only rushing 4 instead of sending extra blitzers and leaving the defensive backs bare, because there was like, I think we were using like practice squad guys out there on defensive backs. So it was really the defense, the special teams that really did a lot. What were you gonna say?
No, I mean, I agree with you. You did kind of make the Steelers heat check about Tom Brady, and I agree with you. Okay, that insight about Tom Brady and not being prepared for the game, and it is kind of sad to see him screaming at his O-line on the sideline. It's like, man, Tom Brady was absolutely on top of the world like 5 months ago when that documentary came out with his documentary, and like people, I remember him saying is retiring, and I was talking to Stephanie about it, and I'd be like, man, I'm gonna miss Tom Brady. He was a great quarterback, and he's been a quarterback as long as I've watched football. I mean, it's just he's great. And now we look at him, and it's very sad to watch that great story kind of.
I'm enjoying it.
I know you're enjoying it, and there's a lot of people out there enjoying it because when there's somebody that's as successful as Tom Brady, uh, there's gonna come a lot of haters. And I'm not saying that just to you. There is. I
I
mean,
mean, he really has been the best cheater in the NFL that I have ever seen. I mean, he does it like nobody else. Trust me. Every time, every year, they come up with some new way of cheating. He just nails. Now, granted, that was with Belichick. He hasn't done that as much in Tampa Bay, but you're still part of the process. So, but I mean, really good. I mean, every year it was, write the answers on your pants so you can put on a test, put on the inside of your glasses. He had all the tricks. So yeah, I mean, on that aspect, fucking solid.
yeah, no, I agree with that, but I'm just, I'm to me, this was a different Tampa Bay team playing the Steelers this last week than we've seen, especially last year. Okay.
Because he has more important things to do. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. His football's not a priority for him
Yeah. I mean, it was a struggle game. What did you think of the offense from Pickett and a little bit from Trubisky?
Well, they were moving the ball with Pickett more because Pickett was playing to win the game. Trubisky goes out there to try not to lose the game. What happens when you do that? You never win the game. Pickett was going out there to play to win the game, but not only with that, they had a little bit better game plan. Finally, Matt Canada was finally using some just some good spatial movement of just move the defense where you wanted to move them, and then send your guys into open space. It's really fucking elementary, and they finally started running some of those plays with Kenny Pickett, and that's what got him up. Later, unfortunately, Kenny Pickett had to leave with concussion because I really wanted Kenny Pickett to not only get his first official win, but first official win against Brady, do the press conference, all the rest of it. Would have been great for his confidence after the crap they've been putting up through so far. Mm-hmm. But instead, Trubisky goes out there, and that was a perfect situation for Trubisky because Trubisky only plays well when there's no pressure on him and everybody is expecting him to suck, and they basically tell him you can't win the job or the job is not yours.
Right.
When you put the pressure on Trubisky, it's like, oh, I better not lose it. Oh, and that's watching Trubisky play. And so that second half, he just had to go out there and basically, no matter what you did, Kenny Pickett's still our guy. That was a perfect situation for him.
Yeah.
So they won, but I really give it's a team. It was a team win. Special teams played really well. Defense played really well. Alex Highsmith was able to get to the quarterback a lot. They were able to hit Brady, which is great. It was a full team win. I don't expect this to be a huge jump forward by any means because, like I said, you're not always going to have the opposing quarterback, going to a wedding the night before. Mm-hmm. But I think it was good momentum moving forward. And one thing I didn't realize is that Tomlin has started 1-4, I think 2 or 3 other times in the season and never had a losing season. So that is a little bit more promising for for him, but it was a good start.
Give me your prediction for. It's a fun one for Steelers fans. Give me your prediction for Sunday night against Miami. You think they can pull this
Did
one
they?
out?
Tua's playing, I assume, right?
Tua's playing, yes.
Yeah, that's smart. That's real smart. So he'll be playing for at least a half until he leaves on a stretcher, and then Bridgewater comes in. I'm not saying. I'm just saying these are his choices and the coach's
Yeah.
choices to put him back into oncoming traffic. And we've seen what happened last time. So I don't understand the logic that if each time it keeps getting worse, and they just keep throwing them back out there and thinking, well, maybe this time it won't happen. But each time it keeps getting worse. So if it keeps getting worse, and last time, I'm just saying, I think I like to think logically, and if they're
Mhm.
just gonna think like a bunch of dumbasses and throw them out there, dude. We're finally getting pressure on the quarterback. Good fucking luck, jackass.
Yeah.
Um, uh, it just depends because Tyreek Hill's such a fast fucker, and then nobody can cover him. Serious defense. I
I mean,
would
you think,
say 31-28 either way.
and you think Pickett plays?
I think Pickett's going to play. They've already been talking a lot today about how he's basically passed everything, and they just need to have some independent neurologist clear him. Which I mean, sounds like a quick and easy payoff right there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they would try to keep him out, but I will say, as far as concussions go, the hit didn't look like that severe of a concussion. Like it was a little bit more of a precautionary thing that they took him out and kept him out, kind of thing.
Right.
I will say that he didn't have a seizure or come stumbling off or anything like that, or seem wobbling around. He had no Tua moments to say that.
Well,
But essentially, we're going to have two guys that shouldn't be cleared to play football, play starting quarterback Sunday Night Football in prime
concussion
time.
battle.
So
Sunday night
the
concussion battle.
NFL better hope that nobody leaves on the stretcher, basically, because I
Yeah.
can fucking see it.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. Yeah, that might be a controversy, and you can guarantee that they don't talk about that in the pregame, that they're going to leave that out for certain reasons.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the Texans. Okay. So Texans made a big move, and for anybody that doesn't follow Houston sports or isn't tuned into Houston sports, the most hated person in Houston is our GM Easterby. Okay. People blame him for driving out Deshaun Watson, which turns out was probably the right move. They blame him for DeAndre Hopkins leaving and influencing Bill O'Brien and doing a lot of the moves that kind of broke apart the Texans from a team that was in the AFC Championship, steps away from the Super Bowl, to a team that is in the bottom of the barrel, searching for any piece of offense that they can get. There are people in Texans football, I mean, in short history, that absolutely despise the man. Andre Johnson, J.J. Watt. I mean, these are people who have nothing good to say about this person, and yet the Texans front office refused to fire him or let him go, despite all this controversy. Well, he was let go earlier this week to the cheers of
Woo!
thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans, Texans fans and Houstonians. Um, and so it felt like there was a big weight lifted off our shoulders. You saw Andre Johnson come out on Instagram and show that he is proud to be a Texan, fan again. You saw J.J. Watt cheer the move. You saw all these fans come out of the woodwork. And it's almost like the sun came up and you started to see all these posts and this chatter about the Texans' future. Right now, I don't know if you knew this, but I mean, we had gotten the Browns pick for Deshaun Watson.
Mm. Didn't they
We
get a lot
own
of?
we got a lot of picks, but
Yeah.
really honestly, what we're concerned about mostly right now is their number one pick for next year. With the Browns losing yesterday, currently they have the 6th pick overall. We have the 4th pick overall. Hey, 4th and 6th pick overall ain't bad. That means we'd have an early second round pick as well. 3 picks in the first 36 picks is awesome. We got a bright future, man. I love Dameon
Mhm.
Pierce. Even though people don't like Davis Mills, I like what Davis Mills is doing. I think he can have a better second half than he has in the first half. Um, our defense right now, we are number 1 in the NFL in percentage touchdowns led up within the 10-yard mark, within first and goal. I think it's 8% of first and goal snaps result in a touchdown. Number 1 in the NFL. Okay. Our defense is playing very, very well on all fronts. And I love what we're doing because these guys are really, really young. Um, I love the Texans. I'll always love the Texans. I love what they're doing right now. I feel like this isn't the Texans from 2 years ago. We've gotten tons and tons of bad press over the last 2 years. This is a new, young, exciting team. And I can't wait to see where they go with it. Sunday's a big game for us, I think. We are facing a team with a record that's not as good as ours. A team that was supposed to be way more immensely talented. I mean, they are more immensely talented, but had way bigger expectations this year than the Texans. But currently, the Raiders are 1-4. It's a big game for us. I'm never going to be somebody that says, let's lose every freaking game so we can get X player, whether it be Bryce Young or whoever. I'm never going to be that
Yeah.
person. I'm going to root for every game to win every single game. Do I love the draft picks that I just talked about? Yes, absolutely. But this Sunday, I really do think that we have the possibility to go out and win this game with this defense and grinding it out with Dameon Pierce and with our 2 receivers, Nico Collins and David and Brandon Cooks on the outside. What's your view on the Texans? Do you think this is a team going forward that could be a playoff contender in the next 2 years?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I love the move of getting rid of Easterby. I mean, I was always dumbfounded by Easterby's resume, I suppose, when they were like, wait, so you were the minister for New England and you would go in there and do the prayers for him? We should get this guy as our GM. Like, what fucking idiot did that? And then all of a sudden he was there and everybody was like, well, he's untouchable. No matter what he does, he's just untouchable. And it's just like,
Yeah.
you were so bad and so, I don't know, like evil that whatever Deshaun Watson was doing, and even the things we found out about Deshaun Watson, people still disliked you more.
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous. The fact that Deshaun Watson was going around poop tickling, doing whatever, even the worst thing you could think of, people still thought Easterby was worse for the fucking franchise.
Yeah.
And they still got rid of Deshaun first. So it's been a long time. It has been a huge weight on your shoulders, like you said. The fact that they finally, I wonder what the last straw was. I just wonder who, eventually somebody was like, did Easterby eat my lunch again? That's it. Like what did he do? That was
After
like,
our
because he had
first
done
win.
so many outrageous things that they're just like, you know what? That's the last straw. Like, but it's great that he's gone because, like you said, he alienated. I mean, Texans like legends, So
Mm.
it's like he had been doing just absolutely terrible and tearing that place apart by person by person. So it's great to see him gone. I'd love to see this franchise do better. Texas is such a great state for sports, and so is Houston. They haven't had a good team in a while. And after last season, the Texans finished really well at the end of the season. I was thinking, man, the Texans are going to start off really hot this year. they just haven't quite been there, but there's still a lot of football left to play, and I think there's a great time to pick up some momentum.
Yeah. Great on defense, stagnant on offense. But if you're looking for a fantasy boost in the second half, I will continue to toot the Texans' horn. Cooks, Nico Collins, Pierce, Davis Mills, even. Um, Gonna be good. Gonna be good. I like OJ Howard if you're looking for a desperate tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's talk about team you're most disappointed by the weekend.
I just think in general the Panthers have just been so bad. That
Disgusting.
stat,
Yeah.
yeah, you showed me for what was it, negative air yards or something like
-1. The first time somebody's ever
that's
gotten negative air yards.
that's so that started to make me think about the fact that like maybe it's not all on Baker. Maybe it's not all about how Baker is. Maybe these coaches are just really sending them out there with a crap game plan. And while yes, they fired their head coach, that doesn't necessarily mean things are going to get better. I mean, sure, Ding Dong Witch is dead, but like the the guys underneath him, do they have their own ideas? Are they bringing anything to the table, or were they just a bunch of yes men? Because
Yeah.
after what we saw this weekend, it looks like they're just a bunch of yes men. It's like you just put out literally a worse product than what Matt Rule's putting out. So that's
Yeah.
pretty fucking bad.
I mean,
What about you?
PJ Walker's not a world
Yeah.
beater, but yes, the Panthers offense is in shambles at this moment. And I would care to bet that they are going to move some people before November, before the trade deadline in November. Packers disappointed me. I thought they would take care of business. I lost a lot of bets, a lot of parlays on the Packers. Uh, couldn't even beat the Jets. Team you were most impressed by?
I'm gonna go with the Seahawks. I mean, I know like they were a team that I thought was going to do bad, but something I've really learned the past few couple weeks, and I attribute this not only with the Russell Wilson Geno trade, but the Stafford and Jared Goff trade, is
Hmm.
that when a team counts a quarterback out and trades him for another quarterback that they like pay, astronomical numbers for, it puts a big chip on that other quarterback's shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, oh, really? Yeah, you're gonna pay that much? Oh, okay, motherfucker. And Gino and Jared Goff, Jared Goff has been not as great this year, but last year, I mean, he killed it. And Gino playing out of his mind. He's best numbers of his whole career.
Yeah.
I had every right to think he was going to suck before, and so did Seattle and Denver, and all their extras thought he was going to suck. And he's out there killing it. So never discredit the chip on his shoulder.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I was impressed by the Falcons. They played 49ers ball. Run the ball, control the game, play some defense, get the ball back on, and then run the ball. I think there was a time where they ran 5 or 6 plays in a row. It was just, I mean, it was impressive. They're playing the way that a team that would be built around Marcus Mariota would play, and they're winning, or at least they won last week. We'll see how it works going forward, but yeah, they really impressed me. Player that most disappointed you this weekend?
I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers. Like I
Yeah,
said, I just think like what I was saying earlier. If you're gonna have that record, that resume with all the MVPs and the Super Bowl win and all these things, then you have to realize that you're the leader now. People are looking at you. You have to lead in a way that people are going to follow you, not like in a way where you're a dickhead and everybody goes, "Wow, he's just blaming everybody else and pointing fingers at everybody else." So it's there's like two different ways. Like you can either be a good leader or you can do what Aaron Rodgers does. So that's where I'm at with it.
gotcha. I
That's
was
it.
pretty disappointed in Lamar Jackson. He was in most of my daily lineups against the Giants. I thought he'd come out and play pretty good ball, connect with Mark Andrews, and he did connect with Mark Andrews. But in that second half, man, he could not do anything. Turned the ball over, I think, 3 times, and just was disgusting. Uh, I said before the season I was down on Aaron Rodgers, not Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson. Came out and kind of proved everything that I thought would happen. That's can't get it right. But yeah, I was disappointed in Lamar Jackson. Player that impressed you most?
I'm gonna go with the whole Jets defense, but specifically Quincy Williams. That that defensive the defensive line is crazy. The linebackers are just attacking and hitting hard. Jets defense is for real. I don't think the whole team is a contender, but that defense is a contender.
Yeah.
They're keeping them in games, and that's how they're giving them a chance to win. What about you?
I'm gonna go with Joe Burrow. So Joe Burrow came out this week and wore Jamar Chase's jersey for the game pregame. I
Mm-hmm.
should have known this. This was dumb on my end. I should have put him in every single daily lineup that I had. But he just absolutely he looked like the guy that led him to the Super Bowl last year. Just came and destroyed those guys in New Orleans, and who hasn't really had a terrible defense throughout the year. Uh, they're great. So yeah, really impressed with Joe Burrow. Really impressed with that team, and I would care to guess that that extends into the coming weeks. That Cincinnati Bengals are back. Let's do something we haven't done all year. A shot bet. I'm going to let you pick first. Okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to take the matchup
Mm-hmm.
of the week in the Gridiron. You're going to tell me why you think this team's going to win. You pick first. I'll go next week, and we'll take a picture of the shot when it comes to fruition. But go ahead. Disco Lemonade versus Professor is our game of the week. Tell me, who do you think wins?
Ooh, let's go through this one. Let's see. Let's see. So Disco is starting Tom Brady and Matt Ryan. Brady at Carolina, Matt Ryan at Tennessee versus Professors Ryan Tannehill and Geno Smith versus Indianapolis at the Chargers. I kind of what's sad is like past years, you'd think Ryan and Matt Ryan and Tom Brady easy win, but they haven't been playing that great. Tannehill's okay. Geno Smith has been killing it, but even they have some drop off games. And then you got wide receivers Debo, Cooks, Metcalf, Olave, Myers, Pittman. Nice stack for Disco with Matt Ryan and Pittman. This is a tough choice. I mean, they're
That's
both
why it's
four and
game of the
two for a
week.
reason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they're
both
both
four and
four and
two. It's
two.
game. That's why it's game of the week.
They both have a lot of players that are way better than mine.
Uh-huh.
It's. I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna go with the professor. Um, I like some of his matchups a little bit more. Um, I think that some of his wide receivers are due, and they've been doing well, but they're probably gonna have a great game. It's tough. Like I said, they're very tough. They both have good defenses. They both have good wide receivers and quarterbacks. But I'm going to go with Professor on this one.
I tell you
What
what,
do you think?
no, I mean, you get to pick this week because I got next week. But if I was going to pick, I would pick Professor. I think Curtis Samuel, that game, uh, I know we've talked about under, but that game, if there was going to be an over game, it's going to be that game, San Francisco versus Kansas City. I think Debo is going to be a big part of that San Francisco offense from the backfield and receiving. I think he has a big game.
Mm-hmm.
I like some of the trades that Professor made this week. David Montgomery against New England. That team should revolve around David Montgomery going forward. That's their
Mm-hmm.
only strength is running the ball. They need to run the ball, and if you have what you want in fantasy is volume. David Montgomery is going to get volume. Him and Khalil Herbert are going to be a 1-2 punch going for that Chicago team going forward. Um, we saw last night that even though Russell Wilson is hurt and uh, was just not playing well, that Chargers defense is exploitable. And Geno and Metcalf are a good connection. Geno being a top 10 quarterback, I really like this team on offense going forward. So, as interesting as it might be, I'm rooting for Neil. Please win. Please do well, Disco Lemonade. Please let your 40-year-old quarterbacks do something this weekend. But I would think Professor's going to win. But rooting for Neil. We'll bet a shot on that. Uh, Gambling corner Thursday night. I am 2-2 on the year, 3-1 with these props. I'm gonna go like I was talking last night. It's like I'm on the craps table and I got a hot roll and I keep going, don't pass. I'm gonna go with the hot roll. I'm gonna stay with it under 44 and a half. These teams are not prepared for Thursday. You got a quarterback controversy, not a controversy, quarterback questions in New Orleans. Let's go under 44 and a half. What I will say is Will Lutz, he averages almost 3 field goals a game, at least attempts a game. Let's go Lutz over 1.5 field goals on Thursday night. That's my prop. We'll see if that hits. Um, Sunday parlay, I'm 0-4. Let's get something easy, something simple. Cowboys, Bengals. That parlay, $100 pays a little bit less than $100.
I like it.
Let's do that. Easy. Survivor pick of the week. I got Cowboys. I think Cowboys take care of business this weekend against the
Lions.
Lions. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think Cowboys come out. Dak comes back and doesn't miss a beat and is gonna come out and win that game.
Is Dak officially back?
Dak is officially back practicing on at tomorrow and is scheduled to start on Sunday. So
Okay.
that's it, man. That's all I have for us this week. Phil Dak and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup in your daily lineups because they are going off this weekend. Anything else you got for me, Scott?
Not too much, other than I feel like I've done everything I can try to do for my fantasy team, and like the gods are just like, "What do you do? What player do you get? Break his finger!" Like just like it's like I'm taking crazy pills here, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
so it's been a hell of a year. It really has been. I'm gonna keep, trying to fight it out, but it has just been, it's been rough. Not gonna lie. Every day, just wake up to new terrible news about my team. So, but we're here. We'll be here for you and giving you plenty of Huck's good advice and my terrible advice each and every week. So don't
It's
worry.
not terrible advice. Hey, seasons happen like this, okay? There's some things happen where, there's you just make the wrong choices. Bad luck happens. You put yourself in a position to do better going forward, and I think you have better days ahead. But that's all we got. Always good talk to you, Scott. Hope I can
Always.
see you soon so we can pay out this shot bet, whether I win or lose. We will see you guys next week, same time, same place. See ya.